Okay, we are officially live. Welcome everyone to Weekend Wind Down with Business Coach Nancy. I'm here with Nicole Cole from Vestige Home. And I want to talk about also why you didn't name your company the same as your name, because people ask about that. But first we need to cheers to Weekend Wind Down, 3-day weekend.
Yes.
And I know you're drinking tea or coffee, but it's all right, I'm starting. It's Friday.
Start us out, Nancy.
So welcome everyone, and whoever's going to watch on replay, if you're commenting when you're on replay, just hit hashtag replay. I wanted to have Nicole on. Nicole has been a client of mine since March of 2018. I actually had to go back and look because I couldn't remember. And you started one-on-one with me, and now you're in my post-client group. So for those of you who don't know, once you have worked with me for a while, there are certain people I offer to go into this post-client group, and it's usually people who are like really hard workers, and they're focused and they're following instructions, and their businesses are rocking and rolling, and that's Nicole. That's why I wanted to have you on.
Thank you, Nancy.
You and many of my clients are great clients, but I want you to tell everyone a little bit about your history, like even before I knew you, and then when you brought me on board, what was your situation?
I have a little bit of a varied background. I went to college on an ROTC scholarship and ended up joining the Navy. So that was my first career. I was in the Navy in 2005 until 2005. And then I worked in project management for a defense contractor. And I was working in this project management position, and I was finally sort of like free of the bounds of like the military requirements. And I was like, wow, like, what do I want to do now that I can do whatever I want to do? And I started thinking about interior design. I'd always loved decorating and making things and creating spaces and being creative. And so I started taking classes at the local community college, and then just like took classes. We were still moving around a lot. My husband was in the military, so I was kind of taking classes wherever I could and taking on small jobs. And I just like very, very slowly over the last, it's like 14 years now, have been building it. And I was able to get some good clients when we lived in Jacksonville, Florida, that sort of like accidentally fell in my lap, and had 3 homes that I worked on there, complete remodels in our historic district. And that gave me a lot of good experience. Then ended up moving to a tiny town in Nebraska where no one is interested, right? No, but there wasn't really a market for interior design. So I started a product line, and I was making handmade serving boards and tabletop pieces. And then we moved over to Philadelphia, and I was still doing that product line, and then just kind of realized I really wanted to go back to interior design. I really missed working with clients and being around people and kind of doing something different every day. And so just about 2 years ago, I started taking on clients here. So
now, that's a lot. And I did go onto your website just before to see if you still had some of those wood products up on your website, and you do.
I do. I know. Down, I think.
Some of them, I mean, they're still kind of cool. If you don't mind, I want to show it really quick, but then I'll go back and show like the front of your website too.
Oh, sure.
Okay. All right. So let me bring it up to the broadcast and rearrange us so we don't look like we're big, long, thin heads. Okay. So these are some of the products. Now, you used to hand make these.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you still do this anymore?
I don't know. For a while, I contracted it out to some local woodworkers because we had some contracts with like West Elm's local program. And then it just really became something that didn't really make business sense. So really kind of what we have on there is like what we have left. And then we're just going to see where it goes.
Okay.
Might put it on pause.
All right. Hi, John. Okay. So am I still showing it? Nope, hold on. Let me bring it down from the broadcast. Okay, so keep going.
I'm trying to think of what year this was. 2020, I guess it was January of 2018. Like, I kind of said to myself, I'm going to start doing some interior design. This was probably 2017. Like, I'm going to start dipping my toe into the Philadelphia market. And then in January of 2018, I made the decision to go full-time into interior design. And that was going to be my sole focus. I had contracted out the work, and I hired you three months later. So I was very close to when I was like ready to go when I went full-time.
Right. And you originally found me from Luann Nagara's.
I did, yes.
You're an avid listener of Luann's podcast, The Well-Designed Business. So if you guys aren't listening to that, make sure you listen to that. But yeah, I've been a guest, I don't know, three or four times on her. So you heard me on there. Do you remember which exercise caught your attention?
It was the Your Business in Words exercise.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, Your Business in Words is like an elevator's pitch, so to speak, but I call it Your Business in Words, and it's a way for you to network with people. And I remember when you first called me, you made the decision to go interior design, but you were still really in turmoil over the wood products.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you remember what the turning point was when you finally said, like, I'm not going to make them anymore, and I'm going to go full force and give that up? Because at the time you were kind of like teetering.
Yeah, I think a big part of it was like once I started to gain some momentum with clients, I just realized how much I loved that, like so much more than woodworking. And not that I don't love that, but like just having to do that day in and day out as a business. I really love that human interaction and feeling like you're making an impact on people's lives. And from a business standpoint, it's like the business model, I think, is a little bit easier than a product-based business that you're trying to make in small batches like that as well. So there was definitely that aspect that I considered.
Okay. So what I remember when you first came to me was you were like, okay, I want to do this, but I still want to make my wood stuff. And I don't know how to get more clients, and that you've had only a few clients. And what were your clients like up to that point, and how much were you charging?
So most of them were like smaller projects that I had here in Philadelphia. And I wasn't going to any of the trade shows I didn't really even know about trade furnishings and things like that. And I was charging, I think $100 less than I am now.
What was the story that you were telling me earlier? Where were you were charging like $40 or something just to get your feet wet?
So that was when we lived in Jacksonville. This is probably 6 years ago. I had my house on a home tour. We lived in a historic district, and I was fortunate to meet a man from California that had purchased several properties in our neighborhood, and gave him my info, and he called me back a few days later, and he was like, hey, I bought some homes in the neighborhood. Do you have any recommendations for people, contractors and things? And I gave him some names, and I said to him, I'd love, if you need someone to check in on things for you, I'd be happy to do that, like as a friendly neighbor. And he's like, well, actually, I want to hire you. And I was like, oh, like, that's great. Like, I didn't know, knew nothing about selling at this point. And I was like, great, I'll do that for you. And I think I was getting paid like $30 an hour at my job. I was working as an independent contractor. And so I thought, I was like, oh, how much should I ask for? And I was like, so nervous. I was like, I'm going to ask for $40 an hour. And I really looked at it. It's interesting because I looked at it as like, this is the thing that I need to just like pay me the same as I was able to get paid before, but I didn't really look at it from that like holistic business perspective. Like if I'm going to start a business, like it needs to be more than just something that would pay me, because obviously I have equipment and tools and, I might need employees and insurance, like all those aspects I wasn't even thinking about. I was just literally like, what could equate to the same thing I was making in my previous job?
Right. and I'm holding back, right? Because when you first came to me, I was like, what? Like,
right.
What are you charging?
Yeah. I know, it's painful.
I wish I would have recorded that first session.
Oh my gosh.
I might actually have it somewhere and then record the sessions now, because we're going to fill in the blanks for people, but just in case people disappear, tell them how you're doing now.
So now I charge $225 an hour, and I have one full-time employee and one part-time employee. And I think we're over double our revenue from last year at this point.
Yay! Yay!
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome. I remember this one sentence you said to me. I said, I know this is, I forget what it was that I was trying to get you to do, but you're like, you take my suggestions very well, but I said, I know this is going to be hard for you to do, whatever it was. And you're like, no, I'm doing it. I'm just doing everything you tell me to do. I was like,
what I do all the time. I'm just like, if she told me to do it, then I can do it. It's like in my own mind, I get like scared, like, cause I don't know.
Right. And you know what? That's probably what coaching is more about than anything else. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the importance of having a community too, like people you can talk to and be, say, hey, what are you doing? Or what's working for you? Or, like you don't feel so alone, and you don't, maybe wonder as much if the decisions that you're making are the right ones, because you have some like point of comparison.
Right. And that's why really my business name is Your Business Partner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I try to do for everyone. So, all right. So take them through do you remember this kind of like the little steps you took in the beginning when you first started working with me on like what you changed and like the progression to today? Do you remember?
Yes. Yeah. So one of the big things was adjusting my rate. I think when we first got together, I was at like 125 maybe. And so I went up to like 150, 175, 195. And it was nice because you kind of like slowly walked me up there so it could like get more comfortable. And obviously like I was gaining experience during that time, so I could feel more confident to be able to charge the amount that we charge today.
Right.
And then the other thing was really figuring out like what my offerings were going to be very specifically, and developing like a good process for what those, how you were going to work through those offerings, how you were going to present to the client. And that was probably one of the most valuable things, because now when I go to a client, I know exactly what I need to say, and I'm much more confident. And when I talk about my business in general, I just feel so much more confident, and I feel so much more empowered. It's amazing.
Well, and if you think about it, how long have you really been doing? Since January of 2018, you decided to become a full interior designer, and going from 100. Well, we'll discount the $40 an hour just to get your feet wet in the industry, because some people have to do that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
From 125 to 250 an hour, and charging for product.
Yes. Yeah. $225 an hour currently.
Sorry, $225 an hour. So really, did I just up your rate again?
I was just thinking.
I tend to do that every couple of months. But here's been my philosophy, and you know this. In the beginning, when your pipeline is small, you do charge a different rate. And as your pipeline starts filling up and you're trying to get to those ideal clients that you want to work with, this is the first filter.
Yes, absolutely.
And you already had a following on Instagram, and I want to make sure we cover that, because you're following right now. Everyone go look at Vestige Home. Home. Is it plural?
It's home, singular.
Singular, Vestige Home. I just looked too. 11,500 followers. That's incredible. And right now, today, where do most of your clients come from?
A lot of them come from Instagram, actually. Yeah, it's been surprisingly a good. I didn't start it with that. I love sharing images and inspiration and projects. It's obviously a visual platform, so I think it works really well for our industry. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the majority of my clients do come from Instagram.
And tell them who manages your Instagram.
I do. Not giving that up.
And it's funny because there was a point where I said to you, you're so busy at this point. Let's talk about, and this is what, part of what I go through with my clients. Let's talk about what can come off your plate and what has to stay on your plate. And when I even suggested to you, well, maybe you could have someone handle your Instagram, you're like, no, I love Instagram.
Yeah. It's the stories feature has been, I think, a big part of why I've been helpful in building relationships with potential clients, because it's a nice opportunity to get in front of the camera, talk to people, let them know there's like a real person behind these images, like just start to let people get to know you. I really feel like, as awkward as it is to be in front of the camera and notice like your crazy hair or this
what, my crazy hair right now? Are you making fun of my hair? I'm getting my hair done tomorrow, people.
But so many people are like, I'm so afraid to get in front of the camera. But in a service-based business, I think it's really important for people to see me, see our team, see what we're doing. I also like when we're sharing an install, like people get really excited about that. Like I just booked a consult from all the stories we shared on an install the other day. This woman was like, I see what you're doing. She's like, we've met with architects and builders, but it doesn't seem like the right fit. But I think what you're showing here might be the right fit. And she's like, can we talk? So, if I hadn't shown that, it wouldn't, that would have been a missed opportunity.
That behind the scenes, everybody loves the behind the scenes.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's why people love HGTV, right? Like people love to see that. I love to watch people's stories.
I told everyone it's like a stalker society at this point. Right? So everybody just wants to know everything. I have to pick up my dog. She's like scratching at me. Come here. Come here. Everybody knows Millie. She's in my branding pictures. So the ladder of services, the services that you offer. Let's go back to that for a second. What do you offer, and talk about how you now feel. How do you know what to offer the client? Talk about your process.
So we usually get inquiries via email or every once in a while, like a direct message on Instagram. And the first thing that I do is hop on the phone with them for a quick 15-minute phone call. When I first started with you, I was doing an email reply. And then I think we were starting to notice that a lot of people weren't responding back, and you suggested to go ahead and do that initial phone call. And I found that by doing that, I was able to convert more people over to a consult versus sending the email and then I might never hear back. And it's a nice opportunity to kind of get to know the person a little bit better, for them to get to know me, and then talk more about the scope of their project. And then I can talk about the consult and they can ask questions. And so that kind of gives me an idea of what kind of client they might be, in terms of if we're going to do a design retainer, or if we would do more of a full service design project. But then going to the consult really solidifies that. So we do charge for an initial consult. And then we go there, we have an interview sheet. My junior designer, Krishna, accompanies me. And then, once we're there, we're talking more about the project. It becomes very clear, what the scope is. And then we can recommend the appropriate service for them.
Okay. So perfect. Perfect. Now, have you run into, we're being asked, hold on, let's go back. I know I'm jumping around here, but how did you get 11,000 followers?
It's slow and steady. I've not ever paid for advertising. I haven't paid for likes and follows. I want to say I started my Instagram account in 2013. I have had a couple features on some design blogs, so that's a good opportunity to get some more exposure. And one thing I did when I was first starting out is that I participated in the One Room Challenge, which is a 6-week design challenge where like anyone can participate as a guest. And then there's, I think it's somewhere between like 12 and 15 bloggers that are blogging every week and showing the process, and the guests are doing it along. So it's like a blogging design room challenge transformation.
Do you remember who puts that off?
It is Linda. She runs a blog called Calling at Home, and they usually have a media sponsor. So in the past, it's been House Beautiful, and I think most recently Better Homes and Gardens. So I found the one room challenge to be really, really great for getting exposure, because people just get so excited about it. I mean, it's kind of like a show, like, and everybody's doing these rooms, and then you can Instagram story it. And I was able to be selected as a featured designer and win both of the guest rounds that I participated in. It was also a great opportunity to get portfolio work, because I didn't really have a lot of like well photographed work that I had done before. So I knew I needed to build that up. But it's just really been slow and steady. Like for 6 years, 11,500 or doesn't really feel like that much, but I feel like I have good, honest engagement, and that's what's most important to me.
So you post once a day, twice a day?
Never more than once a day.
Okay. On your wall.
Yeah. I usually do some sort of story, at least a few of them daily. But I don't do a post on the feed every day. I usually try and do like a Tuesday tip. I think I missed it this week. I've been starting to try and do mood board Mondays. But honestly, like I just post when it feels like I have something that's important that I want to share. I really don't, like, if I don't have anything that day, it's okay. Like sometimes I go 3 days or 5 days. Like I don't really like get worked up about it, because it's just social media, and I enjoy it, and I want it to be fun. And that's why it's fun for me. If I feel like I have, I could probably plan it better and have like all my posts done, and maybe someday I'll do that, but like that's not happening now. And it's fine, because everything is good, right? Like I have work. I'm having fun.
You're having fun. You have work. You have a steady stream of inquiries coming in.
Yeah.
You're getting paid for your consults that you choose to go to after a 15-minute phone call. And then you have an offer for them. Oh my God, my dog is licking my knee and it's tickling me at the same time. And she will not stop. Stop. She's tickling me. I don't have any food on my knee. And you're just so much more confident than when you first started.
Thanks to you.
You know what? You're very talented. And I think this is the biggest thing that, the designers are struggling with. It's like, whether they have an education or don't have an education, in the end, can you help somebody? Are you steps or light years away from homeowners, and you can actually help somebody do a beautiful design of their home or commercial, if you're commercial. And whenever I hear yes, I'm like, okay, so now we have to dig into that and make you feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like definitely having the systems in place, definitely having like, this is how I'm going to do things, that helps a lot. And then there's just like that, like in your heart, like believing in yourself that like you have something to offer to people, and it's valuable, and like you should be paid for it in a fair way, and your team should be paid for that. And it's no different than any other business. And that was something too. I think I had this revelation, like maybe in the spring. I was like, oh, Vestige Home is just like when I worked in my project management job. Like I have to approach it as that. Like it's part of me, but it's also like it's his own thing that I need to like manage and sell and like be comfortable with that, like not get my own like weird stuff wrapped up into it. Yeah,
because you're an employee of your own business.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we've been working on, recently. You're an employee of your own business, but you're also the business owner. Mm-hmm. And you deserve to be rewarded for being that business owner and taking the risk and working as hard as you work. Now, let's be honest. How many hours a day do you work? Because I know it's gone up and down, and we're trying to adjust that still to where we'll talk about that. You just took on you're finally building a staff, which was the first time ever. So talk about how many true hours you think you're working a day.
I generally work like 8-ish until sometimes 7. But I have been trying to stop at 5 some days. Today I only worked an hour and a half, actually, because I went on a hike with a friend who's also a designer. And we are like in this thing where we're like, we should like take Fridays off to do like fun things. And I actually really like Fridays as like a flex day. I've been doing this pretty much all summer, where I usually have my networking meeting at 6:30 on Friday mornings. And after that, I'll book like maybe it's like a networking meeting for coffee, or like I need to make a personal appointment. So I'm kind of like keeping Fridays for that. And then our junior designer, she'll work from home that day, which is great for her because she has a 40-minute drive. So she's like, glad she doesn't have to come in that day. So I think it works out really well. And, I kind of also look at it as like, I might work a few hours this weekend, but I had a really fun day today with my friend and it worked out. So like if I work, 3 or 4 hours on Sunday or Monday, I feel okay about that. I'm able to work from home. We have a 3rd floor studio space. So yeah.
Talk about your new employee, not her personally, but how it was for you to go through the process of deciding to hire an employee. Like, where were you at in your head? Do you remember? Because I remember.
I was working a lot of hours. I wasn't taking any Fridays off. I was probably working weekends. I was just working a lot. And I was starting to feel like burned out, and I was starting to feel like I really couldn't do like more of the higher level thinking things as a business owner, because I was in the weeds of like, where's the rug? Or like, I need to draw this like SketchUp thing. So I really was also having a mindset shift of being the CEO of my company versus just being an interior designer. And that's been a really big shift since the spring which is why I've hired. Now I'm just hiring everyone.
Not for your Instagram, you're not hiring.
Well, that part, I'll keep that.
But you're now actually really in touch with your numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what your monthly expenses are currently.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying yourself.
Yep.
You have a profit account.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You probably haven't taken out of it yet.
No.
Because of the fear. But when we work through how you could afford an employee, it was really all about the fear of committing to someone else and their life, and they needed the money. If they don't need the money, it doesn't matter. It's just that you're committing to employing someone on a regular basis. So talk about how that feels and how you work through that.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is like you never know, like you think the phone might just stop ringing tomorrow. Like no one's ever going to call you again. Does anyone else ever feel that way?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Does anyone ever feel like the phone's never going to ring again? I think everybody goes through that.
Yeah, so I think that's like the biggest thing is like having the responsibility of that, and kind of knowing like you have to keep the train moving.
Right.
That's your job. And I'm also very particular. And so I think there was a little bit of fear, and I still definitely working on this, is what are the things that I can hand over? What are the things I feel comfortable handing over? What are the things I need to like train and then hand over? It's really a learning experience. And I've had people that have worked for me before, but never like with my own business. So,
you know what? And we talk about this in the group. if you have nothing to do, then you don't own a business, right?
Right.
So we're always changing and morphing and figuring out things. That's being a CEO of your own business. So as soon as you think you have it all figured out, there's something else that pops up.
Yes.
Right? A new opportunity with a higher level client. I got hair in front of me. Higher level client. Well, how do I negotiate this deal? Or, gee, I'm still overwhelmed and I have one employee. Like, what do I outsource next? How do I figure that out? How do I afford the employee I have? Which you know how we figure that out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Make part of their job billable at your company rate, and you can bring on multiple employees as long as they can be billable enough hours a week to pay their salary.
Yeah.
This is so basic, but yet a lot of people don't understand it, right? So when we talk to that, you're like, I remember you being like, oh, like, okay, like,
yeah, that's what I need to do.
Right. You can always afford an employee if you're making part of their hours billable. So they do have to have a certain talent level, at least some of the employees, to be able to do that. And you hired a great person.
Yeah.
So tell everyone where you put your ad.
So I promoted on Instagram, and I also promoted on Indeed. And Indeed is actually where I found Krishna. And I got a ton of resumes. I think I got at least 20 or so. Like, it was a lot. It was more than I felt like I could actually get through.
Now, I don't remember how we structured that job description. What did you end up, what was the title?
So it was for a junior designer. And then I structured out like, what are the qualifications? And one of those I had was like a degree in interior design is preferable. And then really like the job description, which included, it's like all the things that I don't necessarily need to be doing. So it was really, a lot of it was the technical work. So like the SketchUp drawings, like I don't need to be doing that. Some sourcing things, some marketing things, helping out with installs, deliveries, accompanying me to High Point. It was like kind of a version of me, but a little bit like tapered down.
Right. A little earlier in the process, let's say.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will say, well, how do I know they're not going to go out and open their own business? And that's what really holds them back.
Yeah. Well, you don't know that. I actually stress that a lot. One of the things that I did was my employee signed a non-compete. So I can't remember the exact, but there is like a mileage restriction. And also, I think the bigger thing is that you want to create a culture where people want to stay.
Yes.
I don't know where, I can't say for sure that that's going to happen for me, but I've worked really, really hard to create a good company culture. And I'm spending a lot of time like researching and reading and like rereading all my leadership books and stuff. So like some of the things that I was really particular about were like offering a good salary. And then I just brought my junior designer on full time. So she has health insurance, vision insurance, dental insurance. We also do a weekly team yoga class down the street.
Really? That I didn't know. You never told me that.
So we do Thursday lunch yoga. And we just it's like a 12-minute walk, and we all walk down there and do our yoga. And I think it's like a good like team building thing. And, just like be kind to people and be interested in them, treat them like, I was just reading a leadership book, and it's like, treat them like they're your family, and like care about them, and like give them a good working environment. And so I'm hoping that will be a way to encourage people to want to be a part of our team. Because I want people to grow, I want people to be excited to be here and want to like grow with us. Like, I don't want it to necessarily be like, I'm going to like go in and learn all this stuff and then go off on my own. Like, because we can grow it all together. And I don't know what that's going to look like in 5 or 10 years, but like, I have nothing, there's nothing that says like, we don't become like employee owned or something, or we don't like, like, I want it to be good for everyone because I'm in it for the long game.
I love it. And I'm always saying to everyone, you know what, everyone rises up together. Mm-hmm. So you do want to know what's important to your employees, right? Yeah. I remember saying to my employees, like, what do you like to do? What other things do you like to do? And I found out, one loved Pinterest. And I'm like, really? Like, we're not really on Pinterest. Like, do you want to build our Pinterest? Oh my God, I would love to do that, because that was like something she loved to do. And I found out another one, like, loves to write. And I'm like, so why aren't you helping write the first draft of our blogs? Like,
yeah.
When you actually look at them like people with interests and their own personalities. I mean, I've been managing people since I was 24 years old, and I still go out to dinner with people who I managed when I was in my 30s. Because I do. You treat everyone with respect, and you teach them everything you have to teach them. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to not share information.
Yeah. Right? And they really appreciate that. Like, they are just so, like, it was so interesting because when our junior designer first came on, she said like she had worked other places or had friends where people they're afraid to ask questions. They're afraid, or they have asked questions. Like, she had experiences where she asked questions and then she like gets yelled at, or somebody thinks she needs to know something already. So then she's like, it's just not a good environment. So I'm always like, I would much rather you ask the question than be afraid or like not ask it and then like we don't get it right. Like, ask, because we all can learn from each other.
Right. That collaborative work environment is so key. So Janelle is asking, do they work out of your home with you?
They do, yes. So we have a third floor of our house that we took down a wall in between a couple rooms. So we have it's this space back here. It's a big L-shaped space that we work out of.
Okay. And how many do you have?
It's 3 of us up here.
It's 3.
And the Beagle Shelby.
And do you have room for expansion if you need another person?
I think we could do 4 up here. I think that would be our max.
All I want to know is if it's air conditioned.
It is. Oh, yes. We put in air conditioning in May because we live in an old house. It's like early 1900s, and it had just like the window units. And we're like, oof, I don't think this is going to cut it. We got to make it comfortable for people.
Absolutely. Okay, so what do you think is your distinguishing feature of why do you think people are coming to you? If they're shopping 2 different designers and one is less than you and they still hire you, what do you think it is?
That's such a great question, because I'm like I was talking with my friend this morning about it, who's also a designer, about whether like style or price is more important. I mean, I think people are coming to us. I did have an interview on the phone with a potential client recently she was interviewing me, and she was definitely shopping on price. And so we did not get the job. But the clients that I have had, I feel like they're very invested in our style. I think that there's something in our portfolio of work that they connect with. I think that we do a lot of work that has a historic reference to it. And I think for some clients that's really important, and that is not something that all designers do. And especially in Philadelphia, that's really important because we have a lot of old homes here.
Right.
It's a very old city. And I also think like referrals are great, like a personal referral, because, there's nothing like somebody vouching for you personally to get somebody excited about wanting to work with you and have that same experience.
Yeah, I think that to stand out in this market where there's a lot of other designers in your area, you have to be a little bold. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because you're not a bold personality. And I want everyone to realize this, like you're very sweet, you're reserved, at least in your public persona for sure. I don't know what you do in private, and I don't care. But you're still attracting a steady business that has doubled your income in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Because in certain sense, you are being bold. You're being bold on Instagram.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't care what people think. I like this. I'm going to go. What's your worst experience in the last year and a half? Do you have one in particular that you would think I literally have a bug flying in front of my face. Any client that you just maybe weren't the right fit for, or any situation that terrified you?
I did have a client that I had done some work for. I think it was before I hired you, because I didn't have her do a deposit. And she was upset because I had gone like a half hour over the estimated hours, and I had trouble like getting her to pay me. I think that was my worst experience. I feel kind of, I don't know why I feel bad saying this, but I feel like I have the most incredible clients. Like, for the most part, like they're amazing. Like they're respectful. They are flexible. Like, if something is like damaged or the delivery's delayed, they're like, that's okay. You know, like, I did have one client who's like, we can't wait that long. Can we re-specify? And they're like, so grateful. Like, but I really haven't had like horror stories.
But why do you think that is?
One other thing I feel like that people have commented to me about is that they feel like when I come over for the consult, they're like, you're really calm. And they're like, you like have this like calming presence. And I don't know if it's like that, like it's like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like we're here to give you the best service that we can. We want to make it a good experience. We want to like explain the situation clearly. We want to like come to a solution. Like, it's all like very, like, I'm not a dramatic person. Like, drama is like not of interest to me. And I don't know if that's like part of it, or I don't know how.
Oh, Nicole, it's definitely part of it, because when you get sucked into someone else's drama and someone else's tornado, they just get more and more amplified every time. Mm-hmm. Right. So if someone is getting extremely upset and you're countering that with extreme calm, like, okay, I gotcha, like, I'll handle it. But it's a 3-day weekend. So Monday, Tuesday, I'll handle it. They're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, she's got it. Like, having that calm, people don't like to hear this. And I'm going to just say, it's not designers, it's business owners in general. You often attract what you put out into the world.
Yeah.
You really do. And when I have new clients and they're struggling with when I have new designers who are working with me, or business owners, I work with other business owners, and they're really struggling with the kind of client, it's usually a matter of me helping them calm their own nervous system and calm their own fears and calm their doubts and their negativity and their, that person's trying to screw me, like the way you look at the world. Yeah. It's not fail proof. You'll still get a client here and there. That's difficult. But if you can present your own personality in a way that's just like calming to everyone else, it really works.
Yeah, absolutely. I say all the time to my junior designer, I'm like, it's just interior design. Like, yeah. It's not like, and I spent the first like years out of college over in the Arabian Gulf on a ship, like fighting a war. So like, to me, like, this stuff is, yes, of course, it's like upsetting when things don't go to plan, or like a client might be a little like, out of sorts for something, but like, we got a lot bigger issues in the world than like the sofa didn't arrive on time or whatever. Like,
well, I remember, I'll tell a quick story. When I was an art consultant, which is how I got into the interior design world, I remember going on vacation and I sent an email like, there are truly never an art emergency, so I'll be back in a week. And still one client was like, oh my God, my canvas is wavy and I don't know what happened. I'm like, your son threw a football through it, but okay. But there's never an art emergency, but in a dramatic person's life.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
There could be an art emergency, right?
Yeah.
And I was just reading this email and I'm like, yeah, that's not an emergency. And I'm not going to get sucked into that and ruin my whole vacation, because even though they pay you, and I'm going to get to this comment in a second, even though they pay you, you want to work as a peer to your clients. You're not a subordinate because they're paying you.
Right.
Yes, you want to give good service, but you're not a subordinate. You're a peer with a specific skill that they are passing their, energy to you in order to get your energy back on what you're best at. And when designers start looking at themselves as peers, as opposed to people who have to jump through constant hoops to please people, it changes the way you run your business.
Absolutely.
And you're there. You're like, I'm the designer. They're paying me for a service, but I'm not going to get sucked into their drama. But I'm going to serve them well.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see what Stacy said. I agree with amazing clients. So thankful. I think your best clients are attracted to you because they see themselves in you. If you are not dramatic, they aren't either. It's so true. I can look at people, business owners in general, and know the kind of clients they attract based on how much drama they put out themselves. So let's see. Oh, we got a yay. Yay. Another sweet, soft-spoken person. Thanks, Camille. That was nice. See, that's you, Nicole.
Oh, thank you so much, Camille.
That is so nice. And Danielle, she's a numbers person, so she's like listening to this and she's like, yeah. And she's right, they need you. And let's see. Yeah, Camille, it's all a matter of perspective. I spoke to a client yesterday or the day before, and she's still struggling with being like, when the client says jump, she says how high.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because I think you have, as a designer and a service provider, you just want to do the best for your client always. And, you do have to be careful about like, okay, when is this appropriate? When is it kind of stepping over the line? I mean, I'm happy to go above and beyond for client. I feel like we do it all the time. And it's a really important part of how I want to build our business. But at the same time, like, we have to have our own lives and our own boundaries, and still, if we're all like running ragged and burned out, we're not going to provide the best work for our clients.
Definitely. No one ever ordered a sofa for That's very funny. Okay, so biggest things that you would like to impose. I always have a ton of them, so I'm going to let you do. Biggest things that you feel are helping you run your business profitably and successfully.
Being confident, being confident in the value of what you're offering, and knowing that it's just because it's easy for you, it doesn't mean it's easy for everyone else. And I mean, like, interior design and like having design ideas and being a creative. I also think deciding to make the investment in a team. I'm really, really excited about having these like components. Like, I've kind of started looking at my business as a machine, and like, what are all the components in my machine to like make it run a certain way.
Yes.
So I think that's really a big thing as we like grow and we take on different and larger projects. Like, I think, we'll be able to provide a better client experience, and that's what's most important.
So let's talk about client experience. What do you feel your clients have, what they experience with your company, with you, that makes them feel so calm and confident in you?
Well, at the consult, we have, I think that's where it starts. I mean, it starts with the first 15-minute phone call, like being friendly and open, being interested in their project. A lot of people thank me for taking the time to get on the phone with them for that 15-minute call, which I didn't expect. But a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for, getting back to me so quickly. And then at the consult, just being like warm and open and like listening to what their needs are. We have a structured sheet of questions that we go through, so we kind of make sure and capture all the important parts. And then we also talk about what our process is. A lot of our clients have never worked with an interior designer before, so they don't know what that looks like.
Right.
We walk them through the 3D modeling and the creation of mood boards and a design statement, the selection of materials. Like, we show them an example of a project so they know, like, it's very clear what they're going to be getting out of it.
And you're showing your value right from the beginning, rather than what I'm trying to get a lot of people to switch from is like, oh, I found this sofa here, emailed it to you. Do you like it? And then I found this lamp. And like, putting together a comprehensive, taking the time to put together a comprehensive design plan is important, and not be that personal shopper, like, here, I found that, here, I found that.
Right.
How many weeks does it take your firm, or you, mostly you're still the primary creative and lead designer, to go from they want us to do a design board and to when you're presenting them?
So I would say it's generally between 4 to 8 weeks, depending on what's going on.
But that's important that people hear that, because everyone's trying to like, oh, I said yes and they paid me, so I have to get it to them within 2 weeks. And I'm like, slow down.
Oh, I don't think I've done anything in 2 weeks.
They're not your only client. So
right, yeah. And we have so many things going on. I mean, I've definitely had to tell, like, we had clients this summer. I said, it was before we brought on our admin and logistics employee. And I said to her, we have a few other projects going on right now. We're looking at the end of August to start your design plans. Is that okay? And they were fine with it. Not every client is going to be okay with that. I did lose a client in the spring when I was by myself because I couldn't get to his project right away. But, thinking back to the consult, I don't know that was a terrible thing, because he was kind of frantic about things in general. So it may not have just been a good fit either. But
it's usually a good miss when they're already impatient.
Yeah.
Right. And I know there's a lot of designers who are really trying to take as many clients as possible, because if someone comes to me and I want to take them, because, we need the income, we all support our families and ourselves. But when you see a red flag or feel a red flag,
mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many designers call me when they're already down a huge, horrible rabbit hole with a client who owes them money, is dissatisfied with them, mm-hmm. suing them. What do I do? How do I? And I'm like, oh my God. It's honestly, it often, not always, but often is your business model from the beginning, that lack of communication. We're getting a lot of feedback here. Let me just pull some up. Oh, so Melissa, for the first time ever, I was given my consult fee inside a lovely thank you card. Oh my God.
That's so sweet.
It is so sweet. Okay, I'm going up. The one thing about Be Live is I don't like the way they show comments, so I have to go. Wendy, yes, 4 to 6 weeks is my time frame. Absolutely.
Yeah. I also think you have to think about the way that you work best. Like, I like to work on it, and then I like to step away and let my unconscious do some work and then come back. Like, that's where I do my best work. So right.
You have to know your own creative process. And if you're not if you're with a client who is trying to push you through your creative process, it's not a good fit. There are some designers, and I always ask this, like, are you really fast? Like, you can do it on the fly. I have a best friend who's a top designer here on Long Island. She can literally walk into a room and go, oh, you need this, and this. Let's go to the store. Done. And I'm like, you just designed a whole kitchen in 2 hours.
Right.
So that's her superpower.
Yeah.
But a lot of people need to have that, go for a walk and in the shower and sleep on it, and then it starts to come to you.
Yeah.
And you have to honor your own process, because if you end up pushing it and presenting it, you'll probably be off base.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, let's see what. Okay, question. How fast do you turn around concept boards? And do you suggest real products on those, or just are you doing like a schematic, or just like a
So our process is, after the consult, when they sign on with us, we book a second meeting, and that meeting is for a presentation of a mood board and to take measurements and photos if we're going to do any like space planning or 3D modeling, which most of our projects we do. And the mood boards that I do, we develop a design statement that comes from the consult. So the design statement is really a description of how we want the client to feel in the space. And there's usually like a stylistic element to it. So whether they're like traditional or they more of a contemporary feel. And the images on the mood board are not product based. They are more to give a feeling of the emotion. And that's really how I approach the design. I don't get hung up on like this chair or that light fixture that early in the process, because I feel like there's just like so many considerations that early. And and the nice thing about the mood board presentation as well is that there are like some interior images that might have some things in them that encourage a discussion about maybe that particular piece or about a particular style. So we usually have like another conversation centered around the mood board. And then, did that answer the question? Sorry.
I think so. So you get your design fee. You get 50% of your design fee.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay. And then you set up the first meeting, and the first meeting is more for a schematic, a conceptualizing the feel.
Yes.
Before you start pulling product.
Right.
And misfiring what the person really wants.
Right. And then that way, once we feel like we have a good feel, then we would put together the actual design presentation. And that's where we're selecting like this very specific products, fabrics, all of that. And we only do one option for our clients. We have not ever done multiple options.
Yeah, which is funny, because I actually said to you, really, you only do one? Because I normally recommend to my design clients, I coach them to give two. But one was working for you. And if it's not broken, I don't fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we put so much into one, like two, I don't know. I mean, not that we wouldn't, like, if they, we could make a few reselections. But we rarely find that happens either. Like usually they see it all together and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this. It's great. Like, I don't know. I've just never thought of like why I needed to give options, because people are coming to us because we know like we have a good sense of style and we can design something great for them. So I never thought of options.
Well, but I think it's a lot because of that first. It's not only that you're a really good listener in the consult. That's number one. Mm-hmm. That you're also setting up that first meeting.
Yeah.
Get really deep into the emotion of what they want to feel, what they want to see, what they like, what they don't like. You're doing that in the first meeting before you ever source. And right. It is almost time. But when it comes to their investment level, because I don't call it budget, when in the process are you squeezing that out of them so that when you're sourcing that you are within their investment level?
We do that during the consult. I do in that 15-minute phone call. If they do book a consult, I encourage them to think about the investment ahead of time, because I let them know I'm going to be asking them about it. And if they need to have any conversations with a partner or just like think about it on their own, I really want it to be something that they they aren't surprised. Because I used to not say that, and then I'd ask them, and then they'd be like, "Oh, we haven't even thought of it." Yes. So yeah.
Yes. So what I like to say is, have you done your research and have you thought about what investment you would like to put into this project? And that's a really good question to ask after they say, yes, they want to book a consult. You know, have you done your research and thought about the investment level? That's something we'll be talking about when I get there, right? So this way you already have them thinking about money. And, you know, I always say, don't say the word budget because budget makes people want to in their wallets. Now, do you use the word investment or you still?
No, yes, I use investment. That's what you taught me.
Okay.
I remember it was very early on. You're like, don't say budget.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Paperwork. Yeah, and now that I've used it so much, it's kind of second nature.
Love it. Okay, final thoughts. It's 5:30. I can't believe it's been an hour. What you've shared, I think, is so valuable for other designers. I mean, I can share up the kazoo as like what you should do and what I teach and this and that. But you're proof, after working with me for more than a year, that you've doubled your business. You are confident. You've got your ladder of services set. You now have a new employee. You know what you charge your clients, and you're marketing yourself steady, and it's working.
Yeah. Thank you. You have transformed my business. I would not be where I am without you, Nancy. So I so appreciate it. I don't know if all the people listening are working with you, but I would highly encourage you that if you are just starting out, or if you're struggling, that, you know, I really struggled with deciding to make the investment to hire a coach, and I can tell you I've made it back 1,000 times. And to have somebody that can mentor you is so important. And I wouldn't be where I am without Nancy's help.
Thank you. And you're a star student. You're a star designer. You literally said to me, I will do everything you tell me to do.
Yeah. And do everything Nancy tells you.
And you totally, you did basically. And it's working for you. And I'm so happy. But it also has to do with the fact of your willingness to try new things. And we would discuss if it wasn't quite a right fit for you, like how we can morph it, and having those steady conversations. So thank you for being here today. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud. I feel like it's like a child. Every person I coach, when it's like, you're like my child. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone coming on board. And I'm like rooting for you all out there. You're all so talented and so amazing. Like, if I could say one thing, just believe in yourself, believe in what you have to offer to your clients and to this world. That's 80% of it. Now I'm gonna start crying.
Right, yeah, I got goosebumps. I have goosebumps. I don't know if you can see it, because that's how passionate I am about how everyone needs to charge their worth. And there are people out there who appreciate what you do and don't have the talent you have, and you can find them, you can serve them, you can be fabulous for them, and they will love you, and you can be profitable in the process and afford your life, right? So that's what it's all about. So, all right. Thanks everyone for watching. If you comment on replay, put #replay so I know it's from replay. And everyone go take a look at Vestige Home on Instagram and Vestige Home on website, and just look Nicole up. She's a rock star, and you guys can all be too. So thanks, Nicole.
Thank you. Thanks. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye. Have a great 3-day weekend. Have fun.